Hi Sue. Thank you so much for sending me the high-res pictures. That really helped a lot. I could really see your brush marks, which look really good actually. So most of it is great. There's just a couple of things that maybe you could improve on. So we'll talk about the stakes first because that was the thing that you were worried about. So I could see it. The printout here is not as good as the picture that I got on the computer, but on the computer I did see quite a lot of detail. And it looked like that, well, there's not a huge amount of detail in the photograph, the one that I got. So it's difficult to get much more in the picture than you've already got. So beyond the stakes, we've got the trunks of the vines, and I think those look fine. There's not much more you really want to do with those, I think, because you've got basically the shape and the variety, and I think that looks good, and the color looks good. You could add, just where the leaves start, you could add a little bit of dark brown to show the branches and the shadows. So there's a few gaps over there. As you see through the foliage, you see darkness because you see the shadow. So you're actually looking through the vine at that point. You're seeing the shadow. So I would put a little bit of that in, just at the bottom there, and more at the front of the row rather than at the back, because obviously the front part is going to be in focus, and the back you actually do want to blend out and keep sketchy. Alright, so that looks fine, and then when you put your trunks in this one and all the others, they're actually going to look really nice. So you don't want to put too much of those in, because I think the thing about this part of the picture is the yellow foliage. So if you crowd it with all kinds of other stuff, then it's going to take away from that. It's going to be confusing. So you want to have one thing that's stronger than everything else, and the most interesting thing, or to you, but I think it's that, because you put those in as well. So I think it's the yellow foliage that's the most interesting. So just keep on, obviously not going to see it on these too much, but just keep on putting those trunks in all the way through, and yeah, I think that's fine. And you can see on this one and that one, you actually see a lot more of those branches and those shadows. So, and also it's quite a nice place to put it because we're getting close to the center of this, so that's usually where your focal point is. So this one would have maybe just a little bit more at the front. This one would have a little bit more than that. I'm talking about those branches in the foliage, and then this one would have even more, because this is going to be more in focus, because basically that's where we're standing looking at the scene. Okay, so I think that will be great. And then this, so you've only got one stake over there, which makes it look longer and thicker than it would necessarily be if you put everything else in. So just standing on itself, being the only one, it tends to catch your eye. So it tends to look like it's the odd thing out. So before you even adjust that, I would put the others in, and you probably will find it's a little tall, I think, because we're looking at, wait, this is that one, that's that one, and this is at the back. So I think you might have just put it in the wrong row even. So we might just want to take this out anyway, and put it in this one, because I think you put it in the wrong row. Because at the back here, you're just kind of seeing sketchy marks. So I would use the colors you used, which was the Payne's Grey, because it looks purple, and that's what it's the shadow. It's the purple shadow against the yellow. So you tend to, when you have yellow light, you tend to see shadows as purple. So your Payne's Grey is working quite well for that. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Just don't be too fiddly or too deliberate when you're putting your marks down. If you keep them sketchy, it works better, especially if you're using colors that don't seem quite natural. So if you're overdoing it, it tends to look odd and out of place. But if you're just putting it on as brush marks, it looks fresh, and it looks like the light is catching it, or the shadow is just picking up a little bit of color. So it works a lot better if you're quick with your brush marks. But okay, so I want you to actually take that out after I've said everything. You're going to take that out, you're going to put it in this row, and you're going to fill up the row with those stakes. As they get back here, down here, they're going to be a little sketchier and probably a little less saturated. So down here you could add more brown to it. You can even add a little green, because they're disappearing, and when they're further away, obviously you're not going to see the color so much. So if you add a little green, they tend to disappear into the foliage. So up here, keep them that Payne's Grey, which will look purple, and back here, if you just mix that with the green or even a little orange. Well, we'd have maybe brown. Don't go for orange. Maybe brown and a little green. You desaturate it, and then it would disappear over the hill, which is what you want. And then over here, I would, they look pretty purple over there. So we could see, you could use whatever colors you use over here, like the brighter to the not so bright, you could do that over here, but just make them sketchy. So what you want to do is be brave. You want to get the color on your brush. So if it was me, I'd probably start with a Payne's Grey with a little bit of umber, and then just sketch those marks in. And I can demonstrate. So with this video I'm just talking, but the next I was actually going to demonstrate something for you, so maybe I can do that as well. So yeah, so you're just going to sketch those towards the back, getting shorter, just like you did with these, which work really well. So you're getting shorter, and then that's just with the one color, the Payne's Grey and the brown. And then into that you can add a little green in the back. You can even add a little white just to make it fade even more. So just a touch of those. It's just, you don't actually want it to look white, or you don't want it to look green. You just want to use that to fade the purple a little bit. So it's just a touch of it. So that would work over here. And then over here, you know, watch what's happening. So these are paler. So instead of kind of reasoning, well, would they be paler, wouldn't they? Just do what you see in the picture. So it works nicely in the picture, and it's a nice contrast. So it's picking up the purple, but it's lighter as well, which makes it interesting to look at. So same thing, and that one has more detail. So a slightly lighter purple, and you're just going to, you know, not too deliberately put all those stakes in. And then on top of that, just like we put the greens on top of that first color, you can put, like, there's some light, this one's kind of a browny pink. To make that, I would just make brown and white. I wouldn't actually use pink because it's going to look pink anyway. So brown and white, and then it will look pinkish. And then this one is more white, so I would, like a blue white. This is a warm white, this is a cool white. So I would just take the purple or the Payne's Grey and add a little white to that. So for the first one, so what you're doing is essentially you're looking for the different tones of the light. So instead of just thinking, oh, it's all light and just putting one down, you're going to think about how it changes, because that makes it more interesting. It's more like you're wandering through the vines, and it'll catch the viewer's eye, whoever's looking at the picture, and it'll just take it into the story of the picture. So if it's not very interesting, if it's all the same stuff, no one's going to really take much notice of that. But if you change the color and the brush marks are slightly different, then they're definitely going to be much more interested in the painting. So you're looking for the differences in color, but you're not going to make a big deal of it when you put it on. You're going to put it on sketchy. Okay, so yeah, so this one with the brown and white, warm. This one with the Payne's Grey and white, and that would be cooler. And then this one is sort of browny, but it's a little whiter, you know, so you just kind of have your paint on your palette, and you just pick a little white at it, pick a little brown at it, you know, so don't make too much of a fuss. You want to be aware of what's going on, but you don't want to be too kind of heavy-handed with the way you put your paint on. And then as you go back, it gets a little darker, so you can put a little dark in. It's just to make this interesting, because this is getting towards the center. It's more in focus than the rest, and also it's kind of it's like taking us towards the house and into the back. So yeah, that should have a bit more interest. Okay, so this over here is almost good. I mean, it doesn't sound very flattering. I mean, it almost works. So because it actually looks like that, just by this one line that you ended up with, you actually feel like the posts are getting smaller. So the thing you want to do is at the back, you just want to exaggerate that there are different poles stacked up one after the other. And if you look very carefully, you can sort of see like there's a light on the top, and maybe you'll see a little light sort of in between. So you've got like a stroke of brown, but halfway between either side there's maybe a little dash line of light, and that just is the light catching the one pole, but you're still seeing the other pole behind it. So if you look very carefully on this row, you'll see that, and you don't want to make too much of a fuss of it. You just want to, like, so the thing that works for me is the three at the back. So if I distinguish the three at the back as three different posts, then you're just going to automatically assume that the front posts are going to do that as well. So look at the back posts, look at how the light is catching the edges of each one, and then try and put that down. But again, you've got to kind of have that all in your head. Okay, it goes like that, and then you take your brush and you kind of put it down quickly, because that'll work. If it's fresh and quick and you know what you're seeing, it'll work. If you're too deliberate, it kind of kills it and doesn't really look like light anymore. Okay, and I'll do a demonstration with this. So you can start working on it, and then I probably won't do it tonight, but I can probably do it tomorrow. So I'm going to put a little easel, canvas up and show you what I mean. Okay, so this, sorry, I don't want to make this too long. Okay, over here they get a little browner. Same thing, you're just going to put that row in, get them shorter. They're a little darker on this side, so that's another variety that makes your painting interesting. And then over here you don't really see them, so they're going to be sketchy. On the edges you want to get them out of focus a little bit and sketchy, kind of scruffy, and then as you get to the center you're going to make them more in focus. Okay, so that was the one thing. Oh, down here you could put a little light over there. So we're seeing this, this stopping here on the edge, but over here you're actually seeing it kind of slope down into the field. So you might want to put a little light just over here, just maybe a sort of horizontal brush mark, just to show that this is sloping. I mean, if you do the horizontal, it makes it look like the land is going into the distance. So if you put that in, and then it kind of fades out over here, so you put this kind of lightish grayish thing that fades out into the field over there, and then that will help that side. And you don't need to. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. It's just a little interesting part of that makes the picture more interesting. And then over here, I see what's going on. So it is another field. So if you can put a little green in there, it is green. I mean light green in there, just to make it look kind of similar to that. And then enhance the hedgerow over there, and then it will look like it's part of the flat valley rather than the hill. Okay, so that was the one thing, and the other thing was just the way this has been painted. So it's not bad, it's just that you put the emphasis on the lines between the fields more than you put the emphasis on the lie of the land. So this has, it's flat, it sort of seems to have a gentle slope going down, but very, very gentle. So when you're looking at this, what you're feeling is that sweep of the land going back into the distance over there, and the houses are obviously in the middle. So you're aware of the lines of the fields, but you're more aware of how the land is lying. So with this, you sort of have the emphasis wrong, and so we're getting stuck on these lines, which are not as nice. I mean, if you think about looking at landscape and you see rolling hills and sweeping plains, that's what you think about generally. You know, it's what sticks in your minds. So that's what I'd like you to do. So if you can make yourself repaint it. And this is what I'm going to show you as well. So you're going to make your brush marks work in the way, this one actually works very nicely over there. So if you can do the way you did that field just everywhere, and take it beyond the house and into this field, because it does change color, but that's something you want to put on afterwards. So you get this land to sweep behind the house, and then on top of that, you make those sketchy brush marks again, just to indicate the field divisions, but you're not going to make a big deal out of them. They're just kind of there. It's like you're seeing the sweep of the landscape, and as you're doing that, the hedgerows are catching your eye, or the ditches or whatever. They're just catching your eye, but the sweep of the land is the thing that is in focus. So that's what you want to get, and then that will work. So that's something I'm going to show you tomorrow. And I really like the way you did that. That's actually really nice. They're actually following the lie of the land, and they're getting narrower as they go back, so you've got a really good sense of perspective over there. Okay, so I will stop that video there because it got a little long, and then tomorrow, hopefully, I will be able to do that demonstration. Okay, thank you. Bye.